Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil, and Vile is an extremely long and shockingly unnecessary title. Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil, and Vile is a chronicle of the crimes of Ted Bundy, played by Zac Efron, from the perspective of his longtime girlfriend, Elizabeth, otherwise known as Liz, who refused to believe the truth about him for years. While the official synopsis does say perspective of Liz, I would rather it say mindset, because that would be more accurate. The word itself, perspective, makes you think that this movie is going to be about Liz, and she's not in a lot of the movie. She's in the beginning, she's in the end, she is throughout the film, but she's basically on the phone with Ted, maybe watching him on TV. She has very little lines. Her scenes themselves are kind of short. The movie itself really is about Ted, but through the mindset of Liz. So don't be expecting murder scenes, because in Liz's mind, he didn't kill anybody. She saw the courtroom drama, so that's a majority of what the movie is, the courtroom drama. It's an interesting direction, interesting concept, but how well is it perceived? Let's get into it. With the people category, there's one thing that is absolutely noticeable, and that is the performances by absolutely everybody, including Zac Efron, who blows it out of the water. Everybody does a great job. Everybody has acting range, everybody is emotional, everybody just does a really good job making their performances believable on a technical level. Apart from that, though, I don't really believe their characters are who they're supposed to be. I don't really believe that Zac Efron is Ted Bundy, I don't really believe that Lily Collins is Liz, and I don't really believe that John Malkovich is the judge in the case. A big part of that was that the actors mostly just looked like themselves. They didn't look like they were trying too desperately hard to portray their characters from a visual standpoint. Apart from that, I don't think Zac Efron held as many mannerisms that Ted Bundy did if you look back at old videotapes of Bundy himself. The people category gets 14 out of 20 possible stars. That's 70%. When you're looking at the writing, there's also one thing that's going to be glaring, and it's not a good thing. It's the direction, or maybe the pacing of the film that's just, I couldn't tell who the main character was, especially because of the description of the movie that points in the direction that this is all about Liz, but it's not. It's about Ted Bundy, but because it's through her mindset, you don't really see him do anything, and you want to see him do something if it's not going to focus on Liz, and because it does neither, it feels like it's almost about nothing. But also, the pacing felt like the movie was just too rushed and maybe should have been made into a mini-series. There's just too many things going on, too many timelines, too many details and facts, and too many things about evidence that could have been stretched out into maybe 10-hour-long episodes. But that's the only bad thing I can say about the writing, because everything else was actually done very, very well. Ted Bundy was a smooth talker, so the dialogue was important. It has a deep and meaningful story when it comes down to Liz and her mindset, because she's going crazier each and every day as crap hits the fan with evidence against Ted Bundy. Now, even though I don't care so much about the direction or the perception of Liz and what's going on with her, I do think it is original when it comes down to Ted Bundy's case, so that also gets full points. 7 out of 10 for writing. The only thing that impressed me behind the scenes was probably the editing. It does a really good job mixing fiction and nonfiction alike, but not only that, going back and forth between years and just presenting all the evidence in a nice, smooth manner. Everything else is pretty average and typical. Behind the scenes gets 7 out of 10 possible stars. The narrative structure of Extremely Wicked is pretty solid other than the obstacles, given the fact that the perception of the film is a little bit all over the place and you don't really know what it's about, essentially, other than the fact that Ted Bundy is trying to prove himself innocent. That's why obstacles got half points. Everything else was pretty good. There was a good introduction to everybody and how things got started. There was an inciting incident. That was obviously when Ted got captured. The climax, there was a good culmination of everything between it, and there was a good falling action. So what can I say? 9 out of 10 for that. But was it entertaining? I feel like it was on the cusp of being just entertaining enough, but it never got there because of the weird direction it went. So I don't really care to rewatch it again. I don't really want to buy or own it if it comes out on Blu-ray. But I feel like there's enough in the movie that you'd have a good time with, but there's also a lot of things in the movie that are just boring and confusing. So yeah, you're going to have a good time with it, but you're also going to be like, get on with it. The direction it takes with the characters and the story is interesting enough to talk about. It has enough details in the movie that you don't want to miss, but there's also a lot of slower parts where you're just like, when is this movie going to end? 3 out of 10. With the specialty category, what are you looking for? There's a lot of stuff out there on Ted Bundy. I'll be honest, I don't know too much about the character because I've never looked too much into famous, notorious serial killers. So I wanted to learn a thing or two about the character. This isn't the movie to do that with. One thing you want from the movie is for Ted Bundy to feel extremely wicked, shockingly evil, and vile, and I don't think at any point in the movie do you really feel that. It almost makes him look like a cool, fun character, and I guess that's part of the point because it is kind of an obscure film, but 5 out of 10. As it is a true story, you also want to learn a couple things. This is the movie for that. Because it's a different vantage point, you do get to learn a few more things than probably other Ted Bundy movies would cover. 10 out of 10. Zac Efron. I do consider myself to be a fan of his. I don't really care that much about his comedic roles, but oftentimes his dramatic roles are well done, and the same can be said here. 10 out of 10. Halfway decent. Did they make the movie they intended to make from the get-go? As much as I would say I would never make this movie the way it was made, I can't deny the fact that it was made well. So this gets 10 out of 10. The specialty category gets 35 out of 40 possible stars. If we add up all those points, we get 75 out of 100 possible stars. That's 75%, which is pretty decent. Guys, tell me what you thought of Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil, and Vile in the comments down below. And for YouTube, you know you can subscribe to me, hit that bell to be notified when I come out with my next review. And until then, guys, peace out!